Hello, Datuk Nicol. How are you?
I'm good, Yasan.
Good to have you here today. Uh, and I understand right now you are in Colombia, right?
Yep, yep.
Oh, okay. What are you doing there right now?
At the moment, I've been here as my second base. The last 2, 3 years, just at the end of my squash career, I was actually doing some altitude training here in Colombia. And since then, I absolutely love this place. And it's such a great country, great city, and in Bogota, which is at high altitude. So, but no, I love the vibe, I love the energy, and now this is I'm doing some training here, and yeah, and I just want to have two places to be where I have Malaysia and also somewhere else that I can just go and have a nice chill time.
Right. How long have you been there already in
About
Colombia?
maybe 3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah, but in and out. Like I was traveling a lot, but most predominantly in Malaysia this last few months.
Wow. Okay. And then I heard that you are caught up there a little bit in a quarantine now, right? How's the quarantine situation there in Colombia?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same in all over the world, and same as Malaysia. It's also extended to May 11th, and basically, everyone has to only go out for like supplies for basic requirements for their groceries, and also if you are sick or ill, then you can get medical assistance. And also, there's a funny thing, like a good thing that they are doing too is like MENA go only goes out to on a certain date, like an odd number of the date, and an even number dates, women will go out. So they're trying to that's how it works here, and just to keep an eye on not too many people going out for like social distancing and whatnot.
Oh, that's interesting. Men on separate days and women on separate days, right? They want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make sure there are no people dating or doing things like that during this
We're
time.
trying to minimize as much as possible, but they also added that from now on that you can also exercise outdoors. So certain areas at a certain time from 6 to 10 a.m. you can go out, and there's certain regulations on what you can do or how far you have to distance yourself. So that's at least a good thing that they are implementing as well.
Right, right. So, friends, we have here Dato Nicole. Okay, she has, kindly given her some of her time today to be interviewed and to share her journey. Right. So, if you are here, just drop by, say hello to her, so that she knows that you are around. Okay.
Yeah.
So just to let you know, a few of the friends here who are dropping by to say hello, Muihan, okay, and we have Tamindra, and then we have Hani, Priscilla, right? These are the early ones here today. Arvin, okay. Sheikh Rohan, he's actually from Malaysia, also he's actually part of the cricket side.
Yeah.
He's a fan, and then we have Anita, Sudha, Rekha, all right. And then we are actually live on LinkedIn, okay. And we have friends from Facebook, from YouTube. They are all tuning in today.
Great, great.
Okay.
Nice to
So
hear.
from LinkedIn, Faris Mansoor says hi, Dato. And then Warman Subramaniam says good morning. Dr. Wendy Liu says hello, Dato and Vyasa. Okay. So you got fans from all over, right?
Nice little Saturday morning for you guys.
And it's Saturday and it's Friday night there over there, right? Today.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for how's it on how's the training schedule there right now?
For me, I mean, now that I'm retired,
Yeah.
I don't have a like the 6 days a week training regime that I used to have, but
Okay.
I do keep active during this NCO as well. I try to fit in a 4 or 5 times a week still of training, keeping to a program because if I don't do anything, I'll go crazy. It keeps me a bit sane. Like I feel that being active is so important, especially at these times where you just if you're in the house, you feel like everything is closing in. But when you keep active, your mind is fresh, your body is moving. Yeah, that I think that's the best thing for people to start to do more, and because it really helps me, and I'm sure it helps everyone else as well.
How long have you been retired already?
For almost actually May, like so last May, I end of May I retired, so almost a full year now. So time flies.
Okay. So just for everybody's info,
Yeah.
Datuk Nicol has actually won the world number one ranking. She was for consecutive 108 months, right? And then she went on to hold on to that for a total of 151 months, right?
The top 10, yeah.
Top 10, yeah, the top 10 in for 151 months.
Yeah.
And she held that record. She actually broke the world record for both the men and women
Yeah.
for that. And she in Wikipedia, she's also known as the world's greatest woman squash player. All right. So we are all very proud of you, and we are glad that you are around here today. So today, of course, we want to hear your journey.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you actually get, into squash? How young did you start squash, and how did you actually pick your way up to become the world champion?
I started when I was 5 years old. My two older sisters, they started playing squash first, and because
Okay.
I was a bit younger, I couldn't really start the game. But I followed them to the squash courts, and I watched them play, and I was so excited to get on court. So I really tried my best to convince my dad to hopefully get a smaller racket for me. So he did. He cut the racket into half, and joined it up in the middle. And before you know it, they put me in a squash court, and I started hitting the ball at 5 years old. And I loved it ever since. The moment I went on court, it was just the way the game was. It was so fast. It was so you get your mind going, and I love running, so that helped too. And from then on, I just kept improving and got better with my sisters. I trained a lot with them, and they were my benchmark. I kept pushing to try to beat them one day. and, that, and things just got better. I managed to win tournaments in the juniors. I also won some senior tournaments at a very young age. And when I was 15 years old, um, I got very good assistance from the National Sports Council and the Sports Institute of Malaysia to just give all the expertise available with coaches, with physical trainers, sports psychologists, nutritionists. All these people were in my the last few years when I was 12, 13, 14. That's when I really improved. And when I was 15 years old, I won my first World Junior title. And that's when I realized that, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life to become world champion one day in the seniors.
Wow. At
Yeah.
such a young age, at 15.
Yeah.
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 So
That was the time that it really hit me that I could actually do something for myself in the professional tour.
you were already playing some world level tournaments already during that time at
Um,
15.
Not officially because when I couldn't join the pro rankings at that time when I was playing because when you were a junior you couldn't enter the ranking list, but now you can. But I still played local tournaments in Malaysia and also senior events that are not in the pro tour like the Asian Championships, which I also won at the age of 14. I won a senior event, and that was
Wow.
huge. So that really gave me a light to see. Okay, I really want to do more and see where I can go with my squash.
Okay. So, what are some of the things that you needed to do to become a champion? For example, like the training, diet, and a lot of our sports fans have been asking this question to you.
Yeah, it was definitely a change to become a junior play squash player in to go into the professional tour. So when I was 18 years old, I decided to move to Amsterdam to work with Liz Irving. She is also a former professional top player and world champion for Australia, and she had so much experience. And I went to Amsterdam to work with her earlier in my like when I was 17, just for a month, and I really enjoyed how she offered her knowledge, how she put squash in a perspective that I had to learn that what I have now is surely not enough to match up with to be not the top in the top 10. So she told me that if you really want to commit yourself, you have to put your full effort in planning to change things. So making changes with my technique, tactics, my movement, strength, build strength, mental capacity, like and all these things I had to do and change. And it was very overwhelming at the time, but she made the right plans to show me that if you stick to it, you will get there at the end of the day. So it's not going to happen overnight. So be patient and stick to the program of what I'm going to offer. So I was like, okay, I didn't miss a training day. I worked hard twice a day, 6 days a week. It was physical, it was mental, it was also emotionally very draining because it's demotivating when you know all these things and suddenly she breaks everything down to zero again, you know. So that,
Yeah,
but at the same time, she gave that assurance that if you do this, you will get there. So I just trusted her and I worked really hard. And in like 4 years, 3 4 years, I saw improvements. I saw what she was giving me. I saw the difference that it took, and I got to win my first world title when I was 22, and I got to world number one like at that time as well. So I knew this was all working, but so that was really like a wow moment that I achieved what I wanted when I was working with her.
wow,
Hmm.
really wow. And
Yeah.
what was the clear, like, difference you saw, like, when you were playing at the Malaysian level,
Hmm.
and what really was different at the world level?
It was just the experience. I think in Malaysia we had all the knowledge of like the physical aspect, like training programs. I still had a lot of assistance, sports science assistance from Malaysia coming through, but I think for squash knowledge, I needed to also go out of Malaysia to gain that. I needed to look for answers from people who have done it, but not just in Malaysia because the level was very different in Malaysia as it was outside of the country. So I went to Amsterdam for that very reason to gain that knowledge of what professional squash is all about and how to be at the very top of the pro circuit. And Liz had that knowledge to offer, so I had to go to the best to be the best.
Right. And in terms of like mental preparations, right, a lot of people have actually shared that it's a lot more mental than physical. Is that right?
Yeah, my coach always says it's 80% mental and 20% physical out there. When you're at the top, everyone is the same level. It's who is stronger mentally and ready to and prepared to take on the challenge, the pressure, those situations where you're down and out. But how do you sustain that mental focus to keep to the task at hand? How do you keep to your game plan? And that's where when I got to world number one and world champion, I I really didn't understand what it was. I had no idea. Nobody tells you how it feels like or what to do. So obviously I didn't handle it very well. I lost a lot of my tournaments in the first part of my world being world number one. But all those experiences taught me that I needed to take it on to the next level. I had to be serious in what I'm going to take on as being coming to be world number one and world champion. So I had to form my team. I had to be so solid with my preparation. So all the training that Liz has given me, I have to also step it up, or I have to work even harder. And that was the obvious reason. I learned not that being world number one and world champion, you don't stay in one place. You have to work even harder to gain that position again and to win that title again. And I got my mental train sports psychologist that was really good. He worked on all different aspects of different opponents, game plans, how to minimize distractions, how to minimize negativity, and create that positive environment around me to work towards the same goal. So that's how I and keep refining myself, improving the small details to just be on top, and that's how I could just keep going and pushing myself, working harder every day.
Right. And
Mhm.
what was the reason, like, looking back many years back, right? When you first became the world champion, and then you mentioned that, you had a dip after that, right? What happened during the time, and how did you overcome that?
It was a challenge because I was just expecting myself to be something, but I wasn't necessarily knowing how to become number one. I thought I had to do something else. I had to be something that everyone thinks this is it. But the basis of getting there and doing what I did was I worked hard, and I kept to the task, and that's what I knew that from that moment on, this is my position I want to be, and I feel that I want to take this on seriously, and I that's the turning point for me. um, Being at that low, you find solutions, and
Mm,
I with this solution with my coach, we found a way to know, like, we create another, we had to readjust the goals for what's to come. So every year we have different goals, and we adjust according to that year. So I just had to adjust my goals and train harder and put better better emphasis on what areas I needed to work on, what things I needed to strengthen. How do
right.
I mentally go into these tournaments knowing that the pressure is not fully on me. I have to let go of that, but go in there with a clear goal and focus to and game plan to beat my opponents.
Right. Okay, I'm going to ask you a very very elementary question. Okay, the importance of a coach.
Yeah.
You are already a world champion, and this was during your streak, of a long streak of being a world champion, right? And you already knew how to play. You have already known a lot of opponents. Why did you need to still have a coach?
Well, the that's a good question. The important part of my whole journey was that a coach actually can identify the weaknesses or the points that are missing when I'm going on to create to gain consistency in my results. So that's if I did it on my own, I wouldn't pick up on those small details. But she, with her experience, she can see it almost immediately when I'm lacking of something, when an opponent is changing their game, and then they are enforcing a new tactic that I have to, but I wasn't fully aware at the time. So a coach really is your peripheral vision or another set of eyes to really pick out those things. And not every coach are that that precise too. But for me, I knew she was so experienced to identify these areas, and also my team. Like I couldn't do it all on my own. I needed different people to come in, to work on my physical aspect. What areas is lacking? I needed to improve. I had to have my mental my sports psychologist to see where did I break down, how do I overcome those moments where I let my opponent get into my head. How do you change that around? So all these small things are not are big things when it comes to crucial situations, and that's
Yeah,
what I needed to sustain myself at the very top of my game.
right. Okay. I am going to ask, just shout out to a few people here who have actually dropped in to say hello before we go into the next question, right? From LinkedIn, we have, let me just see very quickly, Faris, Warman, Dr. Wendy Liu, Malal Willi, Shazwan Arif, Sherman Lam, Yunus, and then we have Hazia, Anil Nair, Shazwani, Mahindran,
Great.
Tani Keswaran, uh, IR, Ahmad Baharudin, Kogila, and then we have Siva Lachumi, and then we have Devendran and Shobana Rao Lachumi and Sivanesan. Okay, so Sivanesan mentioned that when you are at the low, you find solutions. That's very nice. He shared your comment that you made earlier. Okay, from Facebook, we have Radhika, Shamila, Albert, Yasoda, Chan, Yap, Niren, Edward, uh,
Cricket.
Palani, Sivanis. Yeah. Yeah, you have a lot of people. Yeah, I think you can see some of them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
On the right, right?
So, are you a cricket? Are you a cricket player? You. Yes. Sir.
Me,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I am a cricket watcher. I'm not
Wow.
a cricket player. I play some games, but I'm not like this in this kind of competitive level, like anywhere near as you lah.
But you
I
play, you like sport, you like cricket, so that's good.
Yeah, I used to play tennis for a while, competitively, but at the university level,
Ah, great.
at school level, yeah. And then after that, sort of retired and say bye bye.
As long as you
Okay,
sport and you keep active, that's good.
that's my brief sports journey for you. Okay, so one of the things that a lot of sports people have, especially at the high level, is when they start winning for a long time, and then you are number one this year, you're number one next year, and then you are number one the following year. There are some sports people who had their burnout, even though they were doing well. Did you have that, and how did you overcome that part of it?
I was not very clear of what was happening in that whole time that I was at world number one. I was just very focused on what my task was the next year, and my goal for that next year is to put that program together, build up for each tournament, use the tournaments to be at my very best for the peaking tournament. So that was purely my focus every year, and but it was I never fully could understand what I was doing until I retired. I only saw what I did in that 9 years at number one to be pretty to be really difficult. I went through a lot of tough times, having losses, obviously, and learning from those losses, how to overcome my different opponents that were changing their games, their style, and their tactics, and I had to strengthen myself mentally, but I never had a time where I was really like burnout. I think after that 9 years, I then broke. I really
Okay.
the end of my eighth world title is when I gave it all. I came back from being losing to the best Egyptian player at the time, and she was 1 point from winning the world title, and I was down and out, but I still came back to win that. And I think after that moment, I think something broke inside of me that I know this is done. But in my gut, I still knew that I wanted to keep playing, but the hunger wasn't fully there anymore. I think I used it all up. And I think 2014 was when everything went down for me. But no, but at the same time, everybody was pushing the level. The game was getting stronger. Players were all fighting to get to that number one position, and they were all very young. They were younger, and I was also getting older. So all these factors came into play, but but I did was I should be very proud of.
Oh yeah, we are all so proud of you. Because of you, we have mates.
Thank,
And it's not 1 year; it's many years consecutively.
yeah.
You put us in the world map for sure.
Thank you. And it was a lot of, but what really kept me at the top was strengthening my mental strength. My mental strength was one of my strong tools, and I really banked on that to work harder on it, make sure nothing breaks me. I was just fully ready for any challenges that come in because everyone was out to get me.
So talking about mental strength, right? What is mental strength? And like today, a lot of companies are actually going down. So
Yeah.
maybe you can share a little bit about what is mental strength. What do you need to do to have good mental strength?
It's really training. It's like you do certain practices. So talking to yourself or having conversations in your mind, positive reinforcements, things that we take things for granted because we sometimes criticize ourselves, and those are all negativity that we allow ourselves to take. But how do you recognize those things and turn it around positively for your use? So if you keep practicing those things, like a word, let's say if you feel like down and out, but then think about something that will turn it around and say, hey, I feel like this, but I know it will only get better. So it's like a daily practice, and you have to do that as a training. I also did a lot of visualization, so visualizing myself winning tournament, winning matches, winning every point, like a perfect game. And then I did that since I was 12 years old. I was doing
Wow.
visualization since then. I had all the and that's all practice. And I did that maybe 2 weeks before a competition, so that your mind is also ready for those tournaments, because your mind is a muscle. So you need, the more you practice, all these small things, these essential tools that helps us in our daily lives, also makes a difference. And breathing, I think, mental strength is also how we can take those moments to just breathe and be present, because sometimes it takes over. So I think these factors are what helped me in my in people's way of learning how to train mentally in their mind. Visualization is very important to see what they can get. If you don't see it, you can't go there. So that's something I always think they should have a visual of what they truly want, and who knows, that's where you can go, and you have to work towards it.
Mm. And I particularly noted that when you said visualizing, right, and then you said, you visualize winning the tournament, and then you visualize every single point and
Yeah.
all. Would you
Man,
be able to, yeah, would you be able to share a little bit more about that? Because I think that was really something very interesting for all of us to hear, because a lot of people in the country are going through difficult times.
yeah.
So, like, what can we do during this time?
Yeah, I think what is really important right now is to keep positive. I think it's so easy to fall into the negative surroundings around us, or our emotions taking over. It's okay to feel those emotions with anger, frustration. Obviously, I feel it too. It's only human to be frustrated, not being able to go out. But I think you can just let that happen, but then identify that it's okay, and then move forward. Take it yourself out of it, and do something that is positive, do something that you like, do something that makes you happy. Listen to music, exercise. I think exercise is so important. I always encourage people to do that. Dance, if it's not proper exercises, maybe dancing, maybe moving, maybe, and then communicating with family and friends is so important. Still having the social connection is, I think, is very crucial, because being, sometimes a lot of people are on their own, so having that social connection really helps too. But I encourage everyone to just be compassionate with your family and people in your house. Do small things that will help each other to stay positive. And I think that's the key thing. And your mind is the most important tool. And if you can visualize good things, you and visualize stuff that you're gonna do after your MCO, or or things that you want to plan ahead for what's coming. So I think those are the things that I could encourage people.
Right. Okay. So I think that's a very good sharing. It's good for all of us to hear that from you, lah, because I know you have gone through, tough times, stressed up times, and during your, the whole period,
Yeah,
right? And then you got through it.
yeah.
Um, so I've been seeing, like, in your Instagram right now, you have been sharing a lot of your exercise routines and all, the short, 3 minutes one, the 7 minutes one.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so what are you doing currently, and what are your plans moving forward?
Yeah, those exercises actually is just things I've been doing, and friends of mine actually told me, why don't you just share it and we can at least follow you. And so I was like, are you really sure you want to follow? And like, so I tried it out just for a trial, and true enough, it had a good response. And so I thought, and it seemed like it got positive feedback. So I thought, why not share a bit more? So I'm gonna do just small things to hopefully help people in the process. But at the moment, I am after when I'm retired, I wanted to do three things to give back. From all the squash experience that I have, I want to give back in three ways, which is to first have my foundation to so give back to the youth and the kids, to empower them through sport, and so they can reach their full potential, to have dreams for themselves. So I want to have this foundation to encourage kids to fulfill their dreams in some ways and instill good values. The second thing I want to do is also to give back to the community and to women, to share my experience through motivational talks, through speaking on panels, through activities like these online, whether it's conferences. I want to help in some ways to share my experience and my life story to empower more people, especially women, that could see what I've done as like a living testament to what other women can be powerful and be and stand for their own grounds and to do what they want to do for themselves and for all that wants the encouragement as well. And the third thing is to give back to my sport. I want to also help in some ways with camps. I want to have squash camps either in Malaysia and also outside Malaysia to kids or university students. Recently, I was in the US doing some camps there, and in the universities in Yale and also in Denison University. So that's been fun for me. And I also want to have squash events to bring more squash events back in Malaysia, and also having a little tour around the world, hopefully. But to bring top professional players, and I did that last year in December. I brought four top female players, professional players, to play with our junior players in Malaysia. We had 130 kids all around Malaysia to get a chance to get on court with their professional top players and myself. And also the top players get to play a tournament, which is just exhibition matches in the evening, so that the juniors get to watch, and also our Malaysians get a chance to witness top professional players.
Right. Oh, that's a lot at hand.
Yeah, yeah. And more to come. These are all just the starting point of what truly is coming my way, and I'm so excited that I can give back in some ways and to see how much my squash has given me, that I want to share it with everyone else.
I can see that you have already started doing all of this, right? Some of these at least.
Yeah.
Uh, and maybe for the benefit of everybody, would you be able to share what you're doing in Colombia right now?
Yeah, at the moment I'm in Colombia because it's also quite close to things that I want to do in the US. But at the same time, in Colombia, I'm doing my training. helping out with the squash here too. But I'm also having a good base to enjoy, my retired life in a nice, gorgeous country. So, and with lovely people, great food, and a great atmosphere. And also, I also want to help in some ways with their squash in the best I can. I'm from there. I'm from here. I was going to go to Malaysia a little sooner, but with all this happening with the COVID-19, we'll just prolong it. But I got a lot of things that I need to do when I go back to Malaysia in the second half of the year.
Second back and the second half, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Definitely,
so
the flights can. We are able to be open to travel with convenience.
you're stuck there for a while right now in Colombia.
Yeah, but it's been great. I'm doing a lot of things online. My on With my work here through conferences, and so a lot. I'm still doing a lot of things from here as well.
Okay, so just to share with you, there are definitely some women's based organizations here who
Yeah.
would love to hear you. I will, just shout it out to you if you're open to that. So with that, I just like for whoever wants to say bye to Nicole, I think she's got limited time today. But if you want to say bye, hello to them, to her before we end the show, please feel free to do so. Dato Nicole, do you want to share anything before we finish today, the show?
Yeah, no, I just say thanks so much for all your messages on the chats, and I really appreciate your joining us session. Thanks so much for having me. I hope everyone is staying safe and keeping positive and making sure that you stay compassionate with each other and look out for one another.
All right. So with that, we will just say bye bye. And then
Bye.
some of them have says gracias, Dato Nicole.
Gracias. Yes, gracias.
And I hope to see you again, meet you again, at least online for the time being.
Yeah.
Bye bye, and have a good stay in Colombia.
Yeah, thank you. Take care and thanks for having me.
Just stay online for a few minutes, yeah.
Sure.